We do not do emergency podcasts. We do overtimes. Welcome. I'm Joe Ovies. That's Lauren Brownlow. I'm inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. Brownlow is in the Go ACC Brownlow bunker. And Lauren, before we really get started, I just want to say this. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say, and we saw this with the wonderful West Durham special on the ACC network with Coach K and Roy Williams. Coach K was in the house tonight too, by the way, which we'll get to that in a bit. But I think you got these two Hall of Famers. They've won multiple national championships, 8 national championships between the two of them. Incredible games, incredible respect. And over time, you get a little older and things just don't get you. The juices don't flow like they once did. It was too nice. It was just too respectful. I want to say, since Hubert Davis and John Shire have taken over this rivalry, that closing of the chapter to this new chapter has brought back some spiciness to it, and I am absolutely all about it because this is what gets you hooked on this stuff. Give it to me. Give me this. Give it to me every single time, whether it's the drama with Kyle Filipowski and Harrison Ingram or the UNC team taunting the Cameron Crazies and waving goodbye and the Crazies tossing drinks. That is what makes this thing sizzle.
Listen,
it was quite wild.
I've covered a lot of games in that building. I've never seen that. I don't think. I've never seen it. I know it's probably happened before. Like, I know that because they were a little bit rowdier before. I mean, they've thrown things before. I mean, I know that. But, like, I've never seen that ever. So, like, they were a little shook.
Oh, hold on a second. You want this. There you go. Anyway, we're doing live podcasting here, folks. It's all good.
Like, why is the computer moving?
Yeah, I moved it because the Devils.
Like, are we going somewhere?
Card. The Devils then wanted their card for the end of the season. I get it. I keep the OG Media LSE stuff. But anyway, continue, Lauren. Sorry for the distraction.
I just lost my train of thought. You're gonna have to remind me.
Well, I will say this. It's actually something that Luke DeCock and I talked about last year for the first game, Cameron Indoor game between Duke and Carolina. It was the drunkest I've seen this building in a while last year. I mean, because again, it's Coach K's last game. It's nothing but celebrities. The ticket prices are ridiculous. The people who want to be here are here, right? Even though there was a cavalcade of stars tonight, including Mark Cuban. Coach K was in the house. Dave Canales, Panthers head coach, was here too. But I think there's a little more spice to this now, and I think Carolina understands the assignment. So let's talk about the game real quick. Carolina clearly understands the assignment, and as I jotted down, UNC came out essentially in this game as if the last game never ended. They came out as the aggressor. Cormac Ryan established himself very, very quickly with those three three-pointers, and Duke just took a little bit of time to get back up, and they got to the half in a very manageable way. And we can get to the second half in a second, but I wanted to talk about the front end first. I was shocked, as upset as John Shire was at Chapel Hill with the way that they played. It didn't bring the intensity. I was surprised that Carolina brought it and Duke didn't match it the jump.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me too, it was a surprise, like, overall, and then obviously the way it played out in the beginning, like you said, because, like you said, it was almost like as if they just picked up the game from last time, and there was nothing in between, and everything in between would have given you an indicator that Duke was playing better and had more momentum coming in. Carolina was playing fine. They were winning, obviously, most of their games, but they looked a little shaky, had some interesting wins even. And I was wondering if they're about to have yet another super interesting one down the stretch here. They almost made that happen for themselves. I was like, wow, they really love making teams feel included late, which is very nice. Just letting them stick around, letting them hang around there just in case they want to get all the way back in the game. Like, they've got to probably tighten. Well, they do have to tighten that up with March literally here and the postseason coming up. But, like, yeah, I mean, it was just, I didn't expect them to play like that. And you certainly don't expect it to play out like that, which is another thing about Carolina Duke games that we do tend to see is, like, somebody coming not out of nowhere. Obviously, we understand Cormac Ryan's a good player and he's a starter and everything else, and he's had success against Duke before, even in that building. So it's like, it's not a huge shocker, but it's also like, oh, okay, no RJ Davis, no Armando Bay. Like, wow. So he's just going to carry the Tar Heels tonight, just like we all predicted,
Yeah, Hubert did talk about that after the game, and it's actually something that's kind of spilling over in the timeline. whether it's here on the actually, I'll bring up this comment from the YouTube comment section. The UNC has proven in the last 3 years that the paradigm has shifted. You got to bring in experience from the portal. Just compare Duke with Ryan Young versus UNC's with Cormac Ryan and Harrison Ingram. I don't disagree with that assessment. Obviously, we saw last year where the portal giveth and the portal can taketh away for UNC, where Pete Nance did not step up into that role that Brady Manick had provided the year before, and he got hot too. I also am not quite sure if I want to assign too much to what we saw in year one with Hubert Davis, where they really played an incredible month of basketball, not necessarily a whole season of great basketball. And I think that's the part about this year that's really been illuminating, is that from start to finish, this is a Duke team that understands its roles, understands its assignments. They know they have to play with a defensive intensity in order to give themselves a chance. And if that continues to build and stack in that confidence, I like North Carolina's chances in the NCAA tournament as much as the other teams outside of UConn. That's a different discussion altogether.
Well, it's really kind of how they staved off Duke in this one, too. Every time it seemed like Duke was making a push, it wasn't necessarily like an offensive run by Carolina. I mean, sometimes it was, but usually it was like Carolina getting some block shots. Like there was that stretch in the second half where that happened, like, and really kind of asserting their will that way, getting some steals and stuff like that, that kind of thwarted what Duke was trying to build. And, you know, obviously Duke missed some shots too. Like, let's be honest, like, you know, there were some shots they missed they probably should have made, but Carolina made things difficult on them for sure. Like, and they've been able to play defense in a way that they haven't been able to play under Hubert yet. And we're kind of seeing the fruits of that. I don't know if that's the roster. I don't know if that's Hubert growing into himself as well, which I do think we're also seeing a lot of. Like, I think he's getting better and better, and he's had a great year. And I think, you know, it's okay. And Shire has had a great year too. And we've seen him grow a lot as well as a coach. And I think that's kind of cool because look, we had Kay and Roy for so long. Like we didn't get to see exactly a growth trajectory for them. They were always kind of where they were. So
we were too young for the Mike Krzyzewski growth trajectory.
Yes. I was literally growing at the time. So.
Exactly. No, what you mentioned earlier about Duke getting back into this game, like Duke's problem as the game was unfolding was the fact that after they got what was wild, it was a 15-point lead with 12:53 left in the first half. And that was with Armando Bacot and RJ Davis being relatively quiet in this game. And Armando Bacot was relatively quiet throughout the entire game. For as much as we can get into Kyle Filipowski and his antics, I thought they did a pretty good job of limiting him out, you know, to basically counter what we saw in Chapel Hill in the first meeting. But then Cormac Ryan goes off. I mean, what are you going to do? And there was some of that rim luck that I saw out of North Carolina early in the game. So Duke's shooting 36.7% in the first half. UNC is shooting 50%. So it wasn't lost on me that once the second half, and Duke was, I thought, playing decent enough defense, honestly. But the defense continued. North Carolina wasn't getting some of that rim luck, and Proctor started to heat up. Jared McCain started to heat up. They got it to 43-42 with under 17 minutes to go, but that's where the defense started to be a problem. John Shire talked about it after the game, where they let off a little bit defensively. They tried to run with UNC. They gave exactly what UNC wanted in that situation, and that was a game. It was a 7-0 run to get it to 52-43 with 14:35 left in the game, and then Duke really could not get back into it. North Carolina did a really good job of answering anything, especially with Cormac Ryan, both offensively and defensively. They basically did what they needed to do to keep Duke away and answered everything. And again, I know that we've got like Martin in the chat. I still don't think UNC is that much better than Duke. They lost the game after spotting them 15, played catch up the rest of the night.
I mean, I don't think that's an unfair statement necessarily. Like,
I
mean, I would not have thought they would have swept them this year. And that's not because I don't necessarily think that they're like the better team. I do think they're the better team if you had to have me pick one, but I didn't think the gap was so wide that like Duke wouldn't be able to win one of them. And, you know, you could argue both games really were in some way like there for the taking for Duke, but they just weren't able to get it done. And UNC made more plays. And maybe that does speak a little bit to guys like those transfers coming in that are experienced guys and really good players and tough. I think the toughness is really the bigger thing. Experience is great, yes, but you can also be experienced at sucking. I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying. Okay, see, now you're going to ruin this whole thing because now I'm going to have to. I didn't mean it not like that. Okay, well, I'm dead now.
Well,
so.
we call it OG After Dark for a reason, Lauren.
Well, listen, it's like, okay, let me try to turn it back around.
Okay, you know what? I will take it over from here. So you're turning very, very about as red as your glasses frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it from here. In that, what I'm saying is, you talk about the experience, right? And this is something that we said after the NC State North Carolina game at Chapel Hill last weekend, where if you look across the ACC, there's been a problem with teams unable to put two halves of basketball together. North Carolina, and I'll echo what Giglio likes to say, and I agree with him. The differences between the top teams is not that great. Okay, it's just not that great, especially with the transfers and everything else. The space between them is not incredible. Outside of it, again, UConn is clearly the best team in college basketball right now.
I mean, I don't know, Houston.
Houston.
I mean,
whooped Kansas. My point is that at some point you have to give North Carolina credit for how they handle instances where games can slip away.
Yes.
Do they have their signature end of half foibles? Yes.
Their end of game foibles at times now.
Yes,
yeah, that's a new wrinkle they've added. Yep.
But do they actually find a way to continue to win? The answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
And that matters in the long run, because once you get into the tournament and everything gets tight, North Carolina is going to be used to this situation, and I'm going to like their chances. I mean, can they get to the Final Four? I mean, depends on the bracket luck. Sure. But I can see them getting to the Sweet 16 with the way that they're playing right now. I can see them winning the ACC tournament if they want to. But of course, that's another issue entirely. So that's where we are. All right, you want to talk about some non-actual game action? Well, one is game action, one is post-game action.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about Cal Filipowski?
Okay, fine.
So, all right. So this happened in front of me. So typically where I sit is across from the Duke bench, and in real time, and the context here is that the officials had been doing a decent enough job of trying to get Filipowski to understand they weren't really calling the tangled up stuff. And Filipowski was pleading with the officials a couple times, like, well, he was doing this, and they're just like, nah, man, like, you guys, we're playing basketball here.
You know the energy. It's very
I know.
mom.
It is mom energy.
It's not just him. I'm not just blaming on him.
But here's but I'll tell you what probably is the most upsetting part of this, and I know a lot of Duke fans were upset with this too. So we get to this sequence where Filipowski and Harrison Ingram are tangled up and they fall onto the floor. And in real time, I saw Harrison Ingram trying to get up, and he used Filipowski's back to get up. I mean, I've seen that a bunch of times. Yeah. That's a little gamesmanship. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that was nefarious. I didn't think it was instigation. I didn't really think anything that bad about it. And then I see Filipowski stick his leg out, and I'm like, whoa. Is Filipowski finally becoming the chosen one here? Is this like an Anakin Skywalker situation where he's finally coalesced into the one to unite all the Duke people don't like, right down to a Grayson Allen-like trip? So obviously I say I want to see the replay, because in real time it looked like he tripped him. And then sure enough, people have their replay ready to go, and this was a sequence. And yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty clear there that Filipowski was lifting his leg up for a little gamesmanship. And then after the game, I don't have the tweet ready to load, but you did send it to me. It's from our friend Sean Crest. And he did a little transcript of what Filipowski said after the game when he was asked about it. And he said, quote, "I'm not really sure how that whole situation happened. I was really just getting up. My foot slipped. I don't know how it caught him. That's really all I got. I don't see him coming from anywhere. I didn't even know he was back with me. I thought I was the only one left." Lauren.
Okay. Fair. Because, yes, obviously, that's we all know that's not what happened. Because
we know that's not what happened.
Well, and whether or not, maybe he really thinks that. Who's for me to say? I'm not going to say. However,
to me, the worst part about it was after it happened, he got up and stomped his foot on the court and be like, my ankle, and then he played the rest of the game. It's like
that was the part for me. Then I was like, wait, what's the ankle? That was the only part for me that legit, like, not bugged me, but then I was like, wait, what are you doing? Like,
just
why?
own it, dude. Like, unless he has a vendetta
Yeah.
against his ankle that I'm not aware of, like he needs to feel like, all right, I got my ankle a little tweak, let's go. I need to feel that in order to go. Like,
It's like if something controversial happens to him, that's what happens. That he, like,
well, I know this. It's not lost on me that him sticking his foot out, I think, undid the court storming curse for the Demon Deacons, because the Deacons won tonight. They beat Clemson.
See? No, I mean, listen, here's the thing. We went through all this with Grayson Allen, first of all. So you know that I don't know what the word is to use. It's not sympathy, but I feel like a hypocrite being overly critical and like clutching at my non-existent pearls over it because that's how I played basketball. I'm not proud of it. I'm not like sitting here saying like everybody should be out here tripping people because they're slow and mad about it, which is why I did it. Or mostly just mad too. Like I'm passive aggressive. That's how I play sometimes. I don't use my words. Sometimes I just get mad and something happens and it comes out of me. I'm not proud of it. However, what do you like? Here's the thing about what he had to say. What's he supposed to say? Like, yeah, I tripped him and I hope he burns in hell. Like, no, he can't say that. He's getting suspended if he says that. So like, is that obviously not what happened? Yes. But also, what do you want him to say? Like, what's he supposed to say? He's not going to be like, yeah, I tripped him. What?
I want to give credit. I want to give credit to a lot of the Duke fans who have gotten in the mentions or in the comment section to basically say, yeah, dude, we're over it. Like they're over the.
No, I know Duke people that are way over it.
Yeah, the Duke, and I don't blame them because Duke's had a good season. Okay, like straight up, they've had a pretty good season. And depending on how the bracket shakes out, they could have a decent NCAA tournament. But obviously,
on him though.
It's obviously getting swept by Carolina is not the most ideal situation. Clearly, Carolina, it happened to them. They got over it, and we'll see what happens, going forward. I get all that stuff. But I am starting to wonder if Filipowski and his inability to just lock in the way that we saw him locked in at the end of last year.
All it's going to take.
He has not been able to lock in for whatever reason, and he gets numbers, but ultimately I think he kind of holds Duke back a little bit.
I mean, all it's going to take is one feelings ball episode from him where one ref this is not me hot taking this, but he's now picked up 4 fouls 13 times. He's fouled out once.
Yeah.
There's going to be an NCAA tournament ref that's like, I'm not here to play games with you anymore.
He's getting lucky.
He could have fouled out more time. Like, he's not the only player like this. Like, Baycott's picked up 4 fouls plenty of times and not fouled. Like, refs don't like to call the 5th foul. He's going to get a ref in the tournament that doesn't like him, probably, already, and is like, you're fouling out, buddy. And he's not going to care about the feelings ball. He might tee him up, too. Like, it's just hard. It's hard. I do tend to sympathize with the feelings ball players a little bit sometimes. I genuinely do.
That's you.
I do because I feel badly for them because like it's nice to see genuine emotions out of people sometimes, even if they're not always the most productive emotions. It's something that enhances the experience at times for me just watching. Of like, let me see, this guy's mad. I like that I can see it sometimes. But yeah, mad is one that you do generally, especially like if you get in your feelings about it. And he tends to do that. Like he will roll his eyes and sulk and hang his head. And the problem is the team needs him to not do that because everybody takes the cue from him and they need him on the court. They need him engaged. They need him scoring. They need good Filipowski, and his game suffers when that starts to happen. But do I think like he's some monster? Like, no, of course I don't.
No, it's not. It's actually, to me, it's actually worse than that because you either embrace being that guy.
You can't embrace it.
No, I think you can. I mean, we've seen it here. We have seen it at Duke where guys embrace understanding that I am an agitator. I am that guy. I mean, Christian Laettner was that guy.
Who since Austin Rivers has really been that?
Who was in the building tonight, which actually surprised me. Actually, I think Grayson Allen also was that dude. I think
but Grayson also never owned any of those incidents either.
I think the reason why Grayson Allen was a little bit different is because people got caught up in the way that Coach K covered for him. I think that's what
Yeah.
ended up, like the indefinite suspension, which ended up being one
And
game. And
here's
everything
the
else.
thing. When Grayson had something go wrong in the course of a game like that, he also didn't have the pout fest
No,
either.
he did.
Like
He
he
did.
didn't let it impact his game overall. He just kept going.
And this is why Duke ends up getting labeled the way they've been labeled this season. Of, even Jay Williams. I remember a clip a while back where he basically was talking about, if you're scared, he didn't go full Julius Hodge, if you're scared, get a dog, but it's basically let the big dogs eat. I mean, that's what he was saying.
Right.
And I've seen Shire in post-game press conferences talk about it in the most polite way possible about how they have to overcome these types of things. And Filipowski, for whatever reason, against North Carolina this year in particular, has not been able to overcome that. Now, the good news is they might not see North Carolina again. You don't know. I mean, they could
I can't say never anymore.
Right, but after 2 years ago at the Final Four, who's to say, man?
Right.
Who's to say? All right, so we have that, and now we have the end of the game, which I had a hunch, Lauren, the way Cormac Ryan had been being – Cormac Ryan's been Cormac Ryan, so to speak. So when I saw that the game was about to wrap, and I knew that this was headed in the direction that North Carolina was going to win, I busted out the camera phone, got the video going because I was wondering if anything was going to happen. And folks, so as you can see, they're waving goodbye, they're doing all the things, and then you see the fingers going. This is very similar to what happened with Pitt and Blake Hinson. You see the drinks.
Well, no one jumped on the table. You saw the security was like, no one's jumping on the table.
No one's jumping on the table, right?
Which
so that's not happening. But then here comes John Shire. I'm going to turn the audio back up. Here comes John Shire. So this is just an absolutely surreal moment where this is now twice where John Shire has essentially apologized to the students for having an ugly loss in the building. He did the same thing after the Blake Hinson Pitt game, where he said in the post-game press conference that, I want to apologize for the fans. We can't let that happen. So, of course, as all this is unfolding that's the surreal moment. As all this is unfolding behind him, he comes up and he just kind of ignores it all. And he's just like, all right, hey, sorry to the seniors who were here for that one. So
the way he said sorry made me so uncomfortable for some reason. I'm just like, it's like I see myself in that, the way I'm always like apologizing for random things. Like,
yes.
Sorry. Like someone bumps into me or something. I'm like, very sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm like, John, like not like that kind of apology. Like,
I get what he's doing.
And
I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's trying to, in the 2 seasons of Cameron Indoor as head coach, he has tried to change the way things are done. They have different kind of halftime elements. I know that they actually tried to do like a proper senior night tonight, and how they kind of handle those types of things.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
So, and again, he's trying to shape it in a way that's unique to him and not just an extension of Mike Krzyzewski's program, where it ended up being about Mike Krzyzewski. I think John has done a really, really good job of trying to make it about the Duke program more than it is about him, because why and how can he make it about him? He literally just started, even though he does have his history at Duke, whether as a player or as an assistant coach. So I understand what he's trying to do, but I am curious about the evolution of Shire over time.
Yeah.
Where, and again, every coach is different. Hubert Davis, in this game in particular, shows you just how much he's feeling it. Shows you just how much this game is impacting him, impacts the team, and how badly they want to go out and win it. And in these 2 games where they've been swept and that want factor isn't evident at the start, I do wonder if there's some kind of self-reflection as a head coach as he looks back on yet another year and he learns about how to approach this game with a group, because it's not just about one and dones. It's just not, because like what is Cormac? I jokingly tweeted this, and I'm with every joke there's a little bit of truth to it, but we do have to embrace the new era of college basketball where we can live in a world and say with a straight face that Brady Manick and Cormac Ryan are Tar Heel legends, okay, for what they've done in 1 season. All right, so it's to me, it's not about this idea of because what's Cormac Ryan's tie to the rivalry? Cormac Ryan doesn't have any tie to the rivalry. Harrison Ingram doesn't have a tie to this in the grand scheme of things. So I don't really see that much of a difference between somebody who's never been in these games before, whether as a veteran player or as a freshman. I almost feel like if you're a freshman in these situations and you've been recruited by Duke and Carolina, you understand. You've grown up with this kind of stuff.
Well, look,
so maybe the veteran players
right?
use it as maybe the veteran players use it as a chance. Here's my opportunity.
Let's be real though, right? And this applies to both the freshmen that you're talking about and even the transfers to a degree. And this is going to make some people watching this roll their eyes, and I understand. So hold on to your seats. But this is a national rivalry.
Yes.
Almost as much, if not in some ways more so, than it is a local one. That's not to say it's not a local one. Obviously it is. Like literally it is, and then it has plenty of local elements. Like there are Carolina Duke events going on all day today, all over the triangle, like all that kind of stuff. Like so it's obviously local too, but this is something that ESPN, it's an ACC game that ESPN gives a shit about. Which is a rarity.
Wow, at this day and age, that's pretty wild.
But they do that because they know it's a proven product. Like at the end of the day, they want to make money. That's what they are. That's why they promote it like that. They're not promoting it like that because like they want to make it a great game that gets lots of eyeballs. It does and is. And so like in some ways, I think a lot of people, like we've talked about it as like the unofficial start to the college basketball season when they play the first time. And so like, I do think people grow up with that as a game that they watch. Like, and fans of college basketball, whatever, like, I'll bet you, I didn't see all the interviews like leading up, but I bet you if you ask Cormac and you ask Armando, I'll bet you they watch it. Not Harrison Ingram. I bet they've watched it. I bet they've grown up watching it. And so in a way, even though they're not connected to it like that, they certainly have grown up watching it. They know what it's about. And so like once they come and get a connection to a team, like a team on one side of the rivalry, it's clear that whoever's Carolina's had in there, whether even going back to like Cam Johnson and guys like that, like they embrace it, they're with it, like they love it. And it's, look, you've been in that building, you understand too. Like it in that building and in the Smith Center sometimes, well, most times when Duke's there, let's be honest, it's an electric atmosphere. It's exciting. You get caught up in it, and I think it's probably a pretty easy rivalry to kind of fall into the rhythm of. And like you said, it's nice that there's a little bit more chippiness than we've seen in recent years.
From Birmingham, Lauren, what was it like when you and Armando started at UNC?
Oh, bless you, thank you, because I wish me, Armando, and Pat Sullivan, if you know, started at the same time in 1897.
We had Jonathan Jones and Brooke Pryor on Thursday's show, a little DTH Power Hour in honor of Russell Wilson being in the news, and I did make that joke to them about like, so guys, because Brooke was there for Armando Bacot's second senior night. I'm like, so what was it like, watching a guy that you came in as a freshman with finally graduate or get out of here? So he's been here a long time. There were a lot of jokes.
Brooke wasn't a freshman with him.
I was joking.
Okay, thank God. I was like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I know that I have no concept of time anymore, but please tell me that's not true. Like, no, but you know what? I was thinking about this because this is genuinely my favorite part of like covering this sport and like when I get to be around the guys, and everything is like watching them grow up, whether it's like emotionally or like into better basketball players or some combination of the two. I just think that's genuinely a very cool thing. I've always had a soft spot for Armando because I love emotional big men. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of, that's why I defend Filipowski.
Yeah, I get it. I
love like Bryce Johnson was my dude. Like I love a good emotional big man.
Yeah, you did like Bryce Johnson.
Bryce was one of my guys.
Bryce had that expressive face for sure.
Yes, and like the way that he always felt like Roy was like riding his ass, and like just always was like couldn't get a break. He was like Jerry in Parks and Rec. Sometimes that's how he felt. Like, and so I loved for him. Like it was cool to watch him like grow into this. This player that improved so much. And like, it's just Armando just always says whatever the hell is on his mind. And generally speaking, it's very funny. And he's also like, I would not doubt that at least part of why Filipowski slipped, I don't know what word he used with the leg. It was very weird. I was like, you don't slip. Your foot didn't slip.
You don't slip up.
I was like, I don't even think my leg can get that high right now. So, I mean, it's quite a slip. But, like, you know, regardless, like, Armando Bacot knows how to do things in a game to you that will never be caught by officials and that will drive you insane and will make you want to swing around and do something much worse to him. And, like, he's a troll. And I mean that affectionately. And you know what I mean? Like,
no, I know what you mean.
And it's just, you know, he's a guy that I think drives everyone. Like, opposing fans don't enjoy him necessarily. I know there are probably plenty of opposing players who never want to see him again and whatever. But look, the dude has maximized in terms of his college experience and like the way he's going to leave UNC being perceived by like the fans and everything else is good for him. Like, I'm sure he's thrilled. But yes, we started a long time ago. Back when we walked to the door, but walked to Hinton James. What was that legend about? I forgot what it was. It was something stupid about like Hinton James walked from wherever. I was like, sounds terrible.
That does sound terrible. All right, we will get out of here on OG overtime with this comment from Radar Shots. I really do think it's I do think it's the best comment of the night. Duke's season started with Caleb Love waving goodbye and ended with RJ and Bacot saying goodbye. I think he meant waving goodbye. It was poetic. Yes, I agree. A very poetic start and end to Duke's regular season. And we'll see what happens once we get to the ACC tournament. I want to thank NC State and thank Florida State for putting us in a position where Gilio and I are going to have to leave for Washington, D.C. a little earlier on Tuesday. I saw where I'm going to have to watch the game at some point tomorrow, but I see where NC State lost to Pitt. I don't think that surprised anybody, losing to Pitt on the road. State's season has been spiraling. Be curious to see what happens on Tuesday at the ACC tournament. I'm sure we'll spend some time talking about Kevin Keatts and the decisions that they're going to have to make over in the athletic department. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for some overtime. We'll be back on Monday on the normal podcast schedule, and then things get wild when we go to the ACC tournament in DC. We will see you all then. Thanks, Lauren.
Of course.